Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. As long as you live, keep learning how to live. Life, if well lived, is long enough. If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. Time discovers truth. It is, of course, better to know useless things than to know nothing. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. Philosophy calls for simple living, not for doing penance, and the simple way of life need not be a crude one. The part of life we really live is small, for all the rest of existence is not life, but merely time. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Each day acquires something that will fortify you against poverty, against death, indeed, against other misfortunes as well. And after you have run over many thoughts, select one to be thoroughly digested that day. While we teach, we learn. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Time heals. What reason cannot? The only thing that belongs to us is the time. There are more things, Lucilius, that frighten us than injure us, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. No man was ever wise by chance. The final hour, when we cease to exist, does not itself bring death. It merely of itself completes the death process. We reached death at that moment, but we have been a long time on the way. You should live in such a way that there is nothing which you could not as easily tell your enemy as keep to yourself. While we are postponing, life speeds by. I am not born for one corner. The whole world is my native land. Throw me to the wolves, and I will return leading the pack. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Things that were hard to bear are sweet to remember. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. Our lack of courage often makes goals seem complicated, not the goals themselves. Take bold action. Challenges are chances to grow stronger. Adversities develop resilience and wisdom. Man is affected not by events, but by the view he takes of them. Everything that exceeds the bounds of moderation has an unstable foundation. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. He who is brave is free. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. He is most powerful who has power over himself. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what is in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Worrying about the future creates misery in the present moment. Stay focused on today. Nothing is burdensome if taken lightly, and nothing need arouse one's irritation so long as one doesn't make it bigger than it is by getting irritated. With preparation, we can turn opportunities into positive outcomes that seem like luck. Anger is like those ruins which smash themselves on what they fall. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. All cruelty springs from weakness. True happiness is to understand our duties towards God and man, to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is abundantly sufficient. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Life is long if you know how to use it. It is a rough art. That leads to the heights of greatness. The difficulty comes from our lack of confidence. A man's as miserable as he thinks he is. Withdraw into yourself as far as you can associate with those who make a better man of you. Welcome those who you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. Wealth is the slave of the wise, the master of the fool. Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. If you wish to be loved, love. Ignorance is the cause of fear. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor. One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. We all solely complain of the shortness of time, and yet have much more than we know what to do with. Our lives are either spent doing nothing at all, or in doing nothing to the purpose, or in doing nothing that we ought to do. We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end of them. You want to live, but do you know how to live? You are scared of dying, and tell me, is the kind of life you lead really any different from being dead? Every night, before going to sleep, we must ask ourselves, what weakness did I overcome today? What virtue did I acquire?